is frightful, but the fire...
Around the holiday season, one of the traditional dishes is eggnog. But if you look at the nutritional facts on that, you're going to be shocked because it's so high in fat that one glass and you're done for. So an alternative to that is spiced cider, and that's what I'm going to do for you today. What I've got is 6 cups of cider. Now, one of the things, if you're going to be buying the cider and not pressing it yourself, one of the things you need to make sure you look for is that it's pasteurized. And this is extremely important because apple cider is able to sustain the life of E. coli bacteria as well as salmonella. For many years we didn't think that was the case because the pH is so low. It's usually around 3.5, 3.7 to 4 for apple cider, and we didn't believe that E. coli could survive in that acidic of a medium. But now we see that due to mutations in the E. coli and better research that the E. coli can actually survive at pHs as low as 2. Which is more like lemon juice or Coca-Cola. So it's important that you get the variety that's pasteurized. Another reason that it's so important is because the people that tend to consume cider and apple juice are often the very young. Apple juice is one of the very first things that people will give their children in addition to formula or breast milk. And because they receive it when they're often before a year of age, their ability to fight against some of these bacteria like salmonella and E. coli is very small. So we see the worst effects for E. coli with the damage to the kidneys and death in the extreme young children. To this we're going to add 1/4 cup of maple syrup. Now maple syrup has a fairly pronounced flavor of its own, and so if you decide that this isn't what you want to use, you could use corn syrup, you could use regular sugar. One of the nice things that you might want to substitute in place would be honey. If you think back to around World War II when we had a lot of rationing of just regular table sugar, people often looked for alternatives to table sugar when they made things, and it would be dependent upon the area that they lived in. If you lived in an area where there was a lot of honey, you would use honey as a substitute. In Kansas, where I'm from, and part of Oklahoma, sorghum molasses would have been a substitute for table sugar in some recipes and could be used here as well. In the northeastern part of the United States and in the northern part up in Michigan and Minnesota, it might have been maple syrup, and that's what we're going to use in this today. But remember, you've got some flexibility based on your flavor preferences. But since we're making a spiced one, the flavors from the sugar in the maple syrup and the fact that there's not all that much, we compare 6 cups to 1/4 cup, make a nice complement. All right, now to this we're also going to make a spice bag. Now I've got 2 sticks of cinnamon, 6 whole cloves, 6 allspice berries, 5, 6, 7 or so just little strips of lemon peel, and about the same amount of orange peel. Now what you're going to do is put that in a couple of layers of cheesecloth, and we're going to tie this together with a piece of household twine and make a nice little bundle like this, and we're going to add that to it also. Now one of the benefits to using the whole spices as opposed to the ground spices that you see in a lot of these recipes is that it's not going to cause the little cloudy dark pieces to float around. We're going to be able to pull this bag back out. The amount of time it takes to transfer the flavors from the seasoning into the apple cider is not very long. We're going to heat this for about 5 to 10 minutes. You want it to get nice and hot, but you really don't want it to come to a boil. Now, if you had used unpasteurized juice, you would need to bring it to a boil because you would have to, in fact, do the pasteurization at this point. As I said, I don't recommend that you use that, but if you find fresh apple cider or fresh apple juice, depending on which part of the country you are, they use a different label. You need to bring it to a boil for at least 45 seconds to 1 minute to make sure that you do destroy the E. coli and the salmonella that might be present in here. But for our purposes, since we're using pasteurized cider, 5 to 10 minutes will do it. Once you get it steamy hot, whether that happens in 5 minutes or 10 minutes will be dependent a bit on the temperature you actually use, fish that spice bag back out. You're done with it, and it can go in the trash. And this is ready to use. You should have about 6 servings, since you started with 6 cups of cider. Just fill them in your favorite cup or mug. You can put another cinnamon stick on the side if you'd like to make it look a little bit more festive. And then remind people that it is hot. And this makes a great way to celebrate the holiday without a lot of extra fat. It's safer too if you were going to start with raw eggs with when you're making eggnog. So this is flavorful, it's safe, and it really adds to the holiday. For Oklahoma Gardening, this is Barbara Brown.